Then they began to talk among themselves and said, "This must be some thief who has stolen the cart, house and meat." But others said, "Nay, when did ye ever see a thief who parted with his goods so freely and merrily? This must be some prodigalist who hath sold his father's land and who fain live merrily while the money lasts." And these latter began to great number, that others came round, one by one, to their way of thinking. Then some of the butchers came to him to make his acquaintance. "Come, brother," quoth one, who was the head of them all, "we be all of one trade, so wilt thou go in with us? For this day the sheriff hath asked all the butchers' guild to feast with him at the guild hall. There will be stout fare and much to drink, and thou likest, or I must mistake thee." "No, grievous his heart," quoth jolly Robin, "that would deny a butcher, and moreover I will go dine with you all, my sweet lads, and that as fast as I can hie." Thereupon, having sold all his meat, he closed his stall and went with them to the great guild hall. Then the sheriff here already came in state, and with him many butchers. When Robin and those that were with him came in, all laughed at some merry jest he had been telling them. Those that were near the sheriff whispered to him, "Yon is a right mad blade, for he hath sold more meat for 1 penny this day than we could sell for 3, and that whomsoever Mary less kisses him, he gave meat for nought." And others said, "He is some prodigal that hath sold his land for silver and gold, and meaneth to spend it all right merrily." Then the sheriff called Robin to him, not knowing him in his butcher's dress, and made him sit close to him on his right hand, for he loved a rich young prodigalite, especially when he thought that he might lighten that prodigal's pocket into his own more worshipful pockets. So he made much of Robin, and laughed and talked with him more than with any of the others. At least the dinner was ready to be served, and the sheriff bade Robin say grace. So Robin stood up and said, "Now heaven bless us all, and eat good meat and good snack within this house, and may all butchers be and remain as honest men as I am." At this all laughed, the sheriff loudest at all, for he said to himself, "Surely this is indeed some prodigalist, and perhaps I am emptying his purses of some of the money that the fool threwest about so freely." Then he spake aloud to Robin, saying, "Thou art a jolly young blade, and I love thee mightily." And he smote Robin upon the shoulder. Then Robin laughed loudly too. "Yea," quoth he, "I know thou dost love a jolly blade, for didn't thou not have jolly Robin Hood at thy shooting match, and didn't thou not gladly give him a bright golden arrow for his own?" At this the sheriff looked grave, and all the guild of butchers too. But that none laughed but Robin, only some winked slyly at each other. "Come, fill us some snack," cried Robin. "Let us eat be merrily while we may, for man is but dust, and he haveth but a span to live here till the warm gathering him, as our good worship Sven-Thode saith. So let live be merry while it lasts, say I. Nay, never look down the mouth, Sir Sheriff. Who knowest but that thou mayest catch Robin Hood yet, if thou drinkest less good snacks and melamays, and brightens down the fat about the punches and the dust from out thy brain. Be merry, man." Then the sheriff laughed again, but not as though he liked the yeast. while the butchers said one to the other, "Before heaven, never have we seen such a mad rickety blade. Mayhappen, though, he will make the sheriff mad." "Ho no, brothers," cried Robin. "Be merry. Nay, never quarter over your farthings, for by this and by that I will pay this shot myself, e'en though it cost 200 pounds. So let no man draw up his lip, nor thrust his forefinger into his purse, for I swear that neither butcher nor sheriff shall pay 1 penny for this feast." "No, thou art a right merry soul," quoth the sheriff, "and I wot thou must have many a head of horned beasts, and may an acre of land, that thou dost spend thy money so freely." "Ay, that have I," quoth Robin, laughed loudly again. 500 and more horned beasts have I and my brothers, and none of them have we been able to sell, else I might not have turned butcher. As for my land, I have never asked my steward how many acres I have." At this the sheriff's eyes twinkled, and he clutched himself. "Nay, good youth," quoth he, "if thou canst not sell thy cattle, it may be that I will find a man that will lift them from thy hands. Perhaps that man may be myself, for I love a merry youth, and would help such a done one along the path of life. Now, how much doest thou want for thy horned cattle?" "Well," quoth Robin, "they are worth at least 500 pounds. "Nay," answered the sheriff slowly, and as if he were thinking with himself, "Well do I love thee, and fain would I help thee along, but 500 pounds in money is a good round sum. Besides, I have it not by me. Yet I will give thee 300 pounds for them all, and that in good hard silver and gold." "Now thou old minister," said Robin, "well, thou knowest that so many horned cattle are worth 700 pounds and more, and even that is but small for them, and yet thou, with thy grey hairs and 1 foot in the grave, goest straight upon the folly of a wild youth." At this the sheriff looked grimly at Robin. "Nay," quoth Robin, "look not on me as though thou hastest sour beer in thy mouth, man. I will take thine offer, for I and my brothers do not need money. We led a merry life, and no one leads a merrier life for a farthing, so I will close the bargain with thee. But mind that thou bringest a good 300 pounds with thee, for I trust not one that drivest so shrewd a bargain." "I will bring the money," said the sheriff. "But what is thy name, good youth?" "Men call me Robert O'Locksley," quoth Robin. "Then, good Robert O'Locksley," quoth the sheriff, "I will come this day to see thy horned beasts, but first my clerk shall draw up a paper in which thou sold me to bond the sale, for thou gettest not my money without I get my beast in return." Then Robin Hood laughed again. "So be it," said he, smithing his palm up on the sheriff's hand. "Trust my brothers will be thankful for the money." Thus the bargain was closed. But many of the butchers talked among themselves of the sheriff, saying that it would be a scaggery trick to beguile a poor spendthrift youth in this way. The afternoon had come when the sheriff mounted his horse and joined Robin Hood, who stood outside the gateway of the paved court waiting for him, for he had sold his horse and cart to a tender for 2 markets. Then they set forth upon their way, the sheriff riding upon his horse and Robin running beside him. Thus they left Nottingham town and travelled forwards along the dusty highway, laughing and yeasting together as though had been old friends. But all the time the sheriff said within himself, "The yeast to be me of Robin Hood shall cost thee dear, good fellow, even 400 pounds, though full," for he thought he would make at least that much by his bargain. So they joined onwards till they come within the verge of Sherwood Forest, when presently the sheriff looked up and down, and to the right and to the left of him, and then grew quiet and ceased his laughter. Now, quoth he, may heaven and its saints preserve us this day from the rude man called Robin Hood.